Welcome to Shiloh Homestead. I'm Scott.
And I'm Debbie.
Are you about done?
Can we talk now?
Welcome to Shiloh Homestead, guys. Some of y'all may have seen, if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, that we posted this week about our prayer rock. So we wanted to do a video today and kind of tell you a little bit more about why this rock is so special. So we've been married a little over a year probably, and we wanted a house and some land really bad. And so we went, and pretty much the first place we looked at was a 5-acre lot out off Billy Goat Mountain, and it was all wooded, and we were not in a good place spiritually, I would say. We didn't even consult God about buying that. We just spur of the moment bought it. The same day we looked at it, we told the guy we wanted it. It was a lease to own kind of deal. And anyway, we worked hard on that for a year or more, I think, clearing that and making payments on it. And anyway, we'll just say it did not work out. And we wasted a lot of money and a lot of time out there. But that's what happens sometimes when you don't listen to God and you just try and do things on your own. So I think we learned a lesson from that. And so after that point, Debbie and I both started working on our relationship with God, and we moved into a small apartment, and which is where we're still at right now. But we decided we were going to wait on God's timing for before we made any decisions. We were going to pray about it and just let God lead us to the right place.
We spent many afternoons just out riding around looking, because we wanted to be out in the country or have some land and be out of the apartment, but we didn't make any hasty decisions.
Yeah, we wanted to do what God, we wanted to have what God wanted for us. And so we've been in that apartment now for about 8 years. And it's a miserable, cramped 8 years. But it led us to where we are now, being patient with God and waiting on Him. And He's given us something that is far better than anything that we ever dreamed of. But anyway, back to the rock. As we were out looking at places, land and houses, we couldn't decide if we wanted a place with a house already on it or to get land.
And we were leaning more towards a house.
More towards a house, yeah, because we didn't want to have to deal with building something or buying something. So we were leaning more towards that. We were out one day looking at houses and land, and we happened by a friend's house and thought we saw her outside, so we turned around, go back and say hi to her. Turns out it wasn't even her, but she was home, so we went in and talked to her, and she told us that she had some land for sale. And like we said, we were leaning more towards something with a house, but we thought, we'll go look at this land. And so we came out here and looked at it, a little over 6 acres on top of a ridge. Um, and we immediately fell in love with this place. It was really grown up. Uh, Grass was up to our chest in some places. And we kind of waded through all of that, looking around at the land, and just loved it. And as we were coming through the weeds, we stumbled on this big rock here. And so we sat down on the rock and we prayed about this land and prayed that if this was what God wanted for us, that He would make it happen. And again, we didn't want to jump into any decisions and make any quick decisions. So we made several trips out here over I don't know, 3 or 4 months.
We went and bought like sling blades and made us a trail to this rock.
Yeah, we blazed a trail through the weeds, and they came straight to this rock. And we would come out here and sit and pray. And one of the things, there were 2 things as we were looking at houses and land that we had kind of said would be a sign from God that it was the right place. One of those being, if we saw a snake, it was not the place for us. It's not the place for me.
And there's a story behind that. We looked at another property that had a house, and as we were pulling in the driveway, a snake crawled across the driveway, and he was like, "Nope, this isn't me."
So as we were traipsing through the tall grass and all out here, we never saw a snake. We know there's snakes out here. It's on top of a mountain, a lot of woods and rocks and all, but we never saw a snake. So that was one positive sign we had going for this place.
Not to mention, we were just praying very, very heavily and listening for God's word, not just these signs, but this was just something that we kind of said we didn't and did want.
And one of the other things was that if there were deer, if we saw deer on the property, we knew there were deer out here because we had seen the tracks, but we had not seen any deer. And one day we were sitting here on the rock, pretty much just like this,
Facing each other.
Yeah.
Lexi wasn't here.
But we were sitting here praying, and we had our eyes closed praying, and all of a sudden we heard a deer come traipsing out. Now remember, this was all grown up behind us.
Yeah, the weeds were like probably head high on us, except for this little area
that we cleaned out.
Yeah.
And so a deer was coming straight for us, pretty much in a run. And we both just we kept praying, but we just grinned and kind of laughed, because I think that was God showing out.
Now, I will say, we are not 100% sure that was a deer, because neither one of us opened our eyes or lifted our head.
It had to have been a deer.
But I think it was, because there was a trail that came up on this side.
And tracks.
Like deer trails.
Yeah.
Small trails.
So we still didn't immediately say, "Oh my gosh,
we saw a deer, let's go buy it."
Yeah, we still prayed about it more, and we were trying to figure out how we could buy this place and not have a lot of debt over it. So that was part of our prayer always, that God would provide a way for us to pay for this and to work everything out for us, and He did. Because this lady that sold it to us was a friend of ours, she gave us a really, really good deal on it. And also God worked out how we were going to pay for it. And so we bought the land and paid for it, and we have the deed in our hand. And only God could have worked that out.
Yeah, because we sure couldn't figure out how it was going to happen.
No. And we are so proud of this land. Um, to me, there's not a more beautiful place around here.
There's not.
It was so much more than we even hoped it would be, even back then when we were praying about it. As we've cleared the land and made plans for it, things have just fallen into place, and we're going to be able to do so much with this land. Now, if you'll notice on our intro for our videos, when the title comes up, it says Shiloh Homestead, a place of worship. So I want to tell you why we call this a place of worship. Because God did provide this for us, we want to honor Him with it. And we couldn't have done any of this without Him. And so we're not taking any credit for anything that happens out here for ourselves. It was all God. And we want to use this place to worship Him and to honor Him with it. And so that's why we call this a place of worship. Not to mention Shiloh, which happens to be the road that it's on, is a biblical place. When the Israelites first moved into the Promised Land, it was one of the first more permanent places that they set up the tabernacle. And so that's why we wanted to name this place Shiloh, not just because of the road it's on, but also as a way to honor God, because it is a biblical name.
And we knew that without God, and we know without God, that us having this place would have been impossible.
Yeah.
And we want to serve God with what He has given us.
And there's a couple of different ways that we want to do that. We'll get into one of the ways here in just a minute, but one of the visions that I have for worshiping God with this place, and I've told Debbie a little bit about this, but I haven't said a whole lot, but one of the things that I want to do is have praise and worship music out here, sitting on this rock, singing praises to God. And I would like to invite friends that I've played music with in the past or gone to church with to come out as special guests at times, and we'll sit here on this rock and sing praises to God. Some of their favorite songs, some of my favorite songs, or Debbie's favorite songs, and share it with you guys. I used to be a musician back in the day, and can't play like I used to. I've definitely have never been a singer, but God doesn't care about that. As long as you're singing praises to Him. So that's one of the ways that we want to honor God with this.
And one of the things we did when we were looking at kind of where we were going to put the house even, at one point this was going to be a garden area, and we called it our prayer garden. But as things have turned out, it looks like this is going to be our backyard. And so when we have our backyard and our cookouts and our fire pit, which I think is going to go behind us, this will be our backyard. And it will be right in the middle of our backyard, our prayer rock.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us to the other way that we want to honor God with this place. Like she said, this was going to be the garden area here, and we were planning on raising as much of our own food as we can here. But it's always been on our hearts that we would also use the food that we grow to help people. There's been times where there's been people in need that we've gone to the grocery store and bought them groceries. But if we can grow food out here that we can use to help people. Uh, that's just one of the ways we can honor God with this place. And so recently, when we figured out we were going to not be able to put the house where we originally wanted to, I'll admit I was down.
I was heartbroken.
I was too.
Because
I was sad.
excited about my prayer garden, our prayer garden.
Yeah. And so I was down about it. I mean, we both were. Until we realized how much better it was going to be, because the area that now is going to be the garden is so much bigger.
It's probably 3 to 4 times.
3 to 4 times bigger than our original plan. Which we won't be able to do it all at once. We're going to have to, kind of grow into that area. But we will be able to grow so much food that we can help so many more people with than what we had originally planned. And now I'm more excited than I've ever been about this.
And when we figured out that where we really wanted the house to go was not going to work out because of the amount of slope there is on that ground and how much it would cost us to have that much dirt brought in to fill, that up and level it out some, and just all the extra expenses there. And we had no idea where else it would go. We had walked this place I don't know how many times, and that was like the perfect place, we thought. And so we were up here and we prayed about it. God, just while we're out here, just show us ways. Show us where things need to go. Show us how we need to do things, because we don't know. We don't have all the answers. And then when we realized that the house wasn't going to work, we prayed even more. And I was standing in the middle of the driveway, which we would have never dreamed of putting our house across what was our driveway. And it just dawned on me, and I told Scott, I said, come here, look at this. And so he walked over where I was at, and it's almost perfectly level. And it opened up the area that was going to be our backyard to a gorgeous, huge garden site.
Huge. And we're planning on doing raised beds there eventually, but it's going to take some time. We have the materials to build the raised beds, but in order to get as much soil as what we'll need, it's going to cost some money. And so we can't do that immediately, especially until we actually get the house out here and get moved out here. We can't justify spending that much money on soil just yet.
And we also know that, there are times that you can find soil that people are giving away, or places you can get it cheaper. And that's just being patient and waiting on God to open those doors for us. I think part of the reason that door's not open is because He knows we're too anxious to do gardens. That's not what we need to be focusing on right now.
Yeah, we got to get our priorities straight. But we will be able to do an in-ground garden, I think. We're hoping. We're going to try and plow up some land, and if it's not too rocky, hopefully at least do some stuff in-ground, plus the small raised beds that we already have built. So we're going to do some gardening. We're going to grow some food.
And we had to realize we can't do it all in 1 year. We kind of looked at the garden area and how we can say, okay, start here and build this bed, and then in a few years we can build this bed, and and just do it as we can.
It's like Jess at Roots and Refuge talks about having a 5-year plan. You can't do it all at one time. So we're going to have to spread it out and have a 5-year plan of adding on a little more, doing a little more each year. There's so many animals that we want to have to raise. We can't just jump in and do all of them. So anyway, we just wanted to show you and tell you the story about our prayer rock, because this rock is special.
And our name, how we got the name.
Yeah. And so be watching for videos in the future of us praising God and worshiping God from this rock. My former pastor, Brother Bill, commented on my post and called this an altar, and it is an altar. It's a place where we come and go to God. We can do that anywhere, but this place is just special to us. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we hope that you will stay around with us and kind of watch us progress as we go through the years. So we love you guys, and we thank you for watching.
God bless you.